Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever met a man who seems completely indifferent, like he doesn't even notice you, yet somehow you can feel it? He's thinking about you more than anyone else ever could. What if I told you that the very man who acts like he doesn't care is secretly obsessed with you, captivated by every word you say, every laugh you share, every move you make, and that all you have to do is recognize the signs to unlock the truth? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change the way you see attraction, desire, and the hidden ways men fall completely under your spell. Ladies, let me start by saying this. Understanding a man's behavior is not about overanalyzing or doubting yourself. It's about tuning in to patterns, to the subtle ways someone communicates without even realizing it. There's a truth I want you to hold on to. When a man pretends he doesn't care, it doesn't always mean he truly doesn't. Sometimes what looks like indifference is actually fascination, a kind of quiet obsession that he's too cautious or too nervous to openly reveal. And recognizing this is not just empowering, it's transformative. It allows you to see his intentions clearly, without misreading, without chasing, and without losing your own sense of self in the process. You see, the world often tells women that a man who doesn't show his emotions is uninterested. But that is a dangerous simplification. Men, for all their strength, sometimes struggle to express vulnerability. They mask intense feelings with teasing, sarcasm, or even distance, because showing too much interest can feel risky. What you need to understand is that obsession, real fascination, doesn't always roar, it whispers. And it shows itself in the smallest details, a lingering glance, an ear that tunes into every word you say, the way he remembers what matters to you, even when he acts like he forgot. Think about it this way. If a man were truly indifferent, he wouldn't notice you at all. He wouldn't be interested in the way you laugh, the opinions you share, or the little habits that make you unique. The fact that he does notice, even in the quietest ways, speaks volumes. He might tease you, act aloof, or even seem frustrated by his own feelings, but underneath there's a part of him that's captivated by your presence. That is the essence of obsession. It's not about control, it's about being completely drawn to someone, often in ways that defy logic, and sometimes in ways that even he doesn't fully understand. Here's the crucial part. Noticing this doesn't mean you should start chasing him or trying to break through his facade with desperation. Far from it. The real power lies in recognizing these subtle signs and understanding what they mean for you. When you see the way he subtly mirrors your energy, when he remembers what you said in passing, when he finds excuses to cross paths with you, these are the signals of a mind and heart preoccupied with you, even if his words say the opposite. And the moment you grasp this, you begin to reclaim the narrative. You no longer interpret his distance as rejection, you interpret it as intrigue. And that changes everything. Now, let me be honest. Some women fear that recognizing this might trap them in a game of mind reading. But here's the truth. Awareness is your superpower. When you understand that someone's apparent indifference can hide obsession, you stop doubting your own value. You stop thinking, why doesn't he chase me? And start thinking, he's so invested that he can't even admit it yet. That shift in perspective is vital, because it allows you to respond with poise and confidence, not with insecurity or neediness. Confidence is magnetic. It's the unspoken signal that tells someone, I know my worth, and I'm not here to beg for attention. You might be asking yourself, how do you know if a man is secretly obsessed? Let's talk about the markers. First, pay attention to attention. Not the loud, obvious kind, anyone can fake that. But the quiet, consistent attention. He notices the little things, your mood, your energy, even the books you like or the music you listen to. He might act like he doesn't care, but he remembers. And remember, memory is emotional currency. If he holds on to small details about you that others would forget, that's a sign he's captivated. Second, watch for inconsistency. You might notice he's hot and cold, available one day, distant the next. Don't mistake this for disinterest. It often comes from a deep-seated fear of vulnerability. A man who's secretly obsessed can't always manage his emotions in a linear, predictable way. He may push away when he wants to pull closer. This is not a reason to chase, it's a reason to stay grounded, observe, and allow him to reveal his feelings at his own pace. Third, notice effort without expectation. A man who pretends not to care but is secretly obsessed will find ways to be present in your life without announcing it. He'll offer help in quiet ways, send thoughtful messages when you least expect them, or show up in situations that matter to you. This isn't manipulation. It's a natural pull towards someone who fascinates him. Obsession doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the small, persistent threads that weave him into your life without him having to say a word. And here's a critical mindset shift. Knowing he's secretly obsessed doesn't make you superior, and it doesn't make him weak. It simply shows the complexity of human emotion. Understanding this allows you to move through relationships with clarity. You can engage with him in a way that's confident, playful, and wise. You can observe, respond, and interact without losing yourself in the process. Because the ultimate point is this: recognizing obsession is about clarity, not control. It's about understanding dynamics, not manipulating outcomes. Let's go deeper. When a man pretends he doesn't care, part of his mind is constantly running scenarios about you. He analyzes your behavior, your words, your gestures, because he's emotionally invested. That energy doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish just because he's not overtly expressive. It simmers beneath the surface, often shaping his actions unconsciously. And women who understand this are not only able to see through the facade, they can also inspire a deeper connection. Because when a man senses that a woman is aware, poised, and attuned, it awakens a kind of respect and intrigue that mere chasing could never achieve. The danger lies in misinterpreting his indifference as rejection. Many women, upon sensing distance, react by trying to overcompensate, sending messages, making themselves available, or lowering their standards to gain attention. But here's the reality: a man who is truly captivated doesn't need to be coerced. His fascination finds ways to manifest, whether overtly or subtly. Your role is to maintain your presence, your confidence, your standards, and allow that fascination to surface naturally. Finally, understand the transformative power of perception. When you recognize that someone's apparent indifference may mask a deeper obsession, you reclaim your narrative. You stop questioning your worth or doubting your appeal. You step into your own power, knowing that you command attention not through neediness, but through authenticity, presence, and self-respect. And the beauty of this is that it creates a ripple effect. When a man senses that a woman is secure, aware, and confident, his fascination intensifies. What was hidden begins to surface, not because you, damer, ended it, but because you embodied a value that cannot be ignored. So, take a moment to reflect. The next time a man acts distant, aloof, or indifferent, remember that these behaviors can coexist with deep interest, curiosity, and yes, even obsession. Look for the subtle signs, honor your intuition, and carry yourself with a confidence that makes indifference irrelevant. This is the art of understanding human attraction, recognizing the truth without being controlled by appearances, appreciating fascination without losing your autonomy, and allowing connection to develop in a way that feels natural, empowering, and magnetic. Now, let's go even deeper into understanding this dynamic, because what separates women who feel stuck and confused from women who feel empowered is the ability to recognize patterns, not just isolated incidents. Attraction, fascination, and obsession rarely reveal themselves in a single moment. They emerge in sequences, in repetitions, in behaviors that build a subtle but undeniable narrative over time. When you pay attention, you start to see the consistency behind the apparent contradictions. The way he acts disinterested at times, but then finds reasons to cross paths with you repeatedly. The way he dismisses a compliment but then remembers exactly what you mentioned weeks ago. These are not accidents. These are the quiet footprints of a mind and heart absorbed in you. Think about this. A man who is secretly obsessed does not need to loudly proclaim it. In fact, often the louder he tries to appear indifferent, the stronger his obsession actually is. Why? Because deep down he knows that if he reveals the depth of his feelings too early, it would change everything. It would make him vulnerable, and vulnerability is terrifying when you truly care. So instead, he tests the waters. He hides behind teasing, playful banter, or even slight irritability. And this is exactly why so many women misinterpret his behavior. They see resistance and think rejection. They see hesitation and think disinterest. But in reality, what they are witnessing is a protective mechanism, not a lack of interest. Here's another truth. When a man is secretly obsessed, he observes you constantly, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. He notices the subtle shifts in your mood, the way your energy changes when you are passionate, frustrated, or excited. He listens, really listens, to the nuances in your voice, the words you emphasize, the small stories you tell in passing. To an outside observer, it might seem like casual attention. But to someone who understands human behavior, it is obsession in its most refined, understated form. He remembers these details because he values them. They give him insight into who you are, what makes you tick, and what he might do to become part of that world. And here's something crucial. Obsession doesn't mean desperation. It doesn't mean he is controlling or manipulative. True fascination often manifests as quiet, consistent effort that may seem invisible but is actually deeply intentional. He might not call you every day or flood your inbox with messages, but he will show up in ways that matter. He'll appear at places you frequent, find opportunities to be helpful, or offer support in moments you didn't even realize you needed it. These subtle forms of attention are far more revealing than grand declarations because they require patience, observation, and genuine interest. One of the most important things to understand about this kind of obsession is that it thrives on authenticity. A man who is secretly obsessed with you doesn't just want a version of you that is filtered or performative, he wants the real you. The quirks, the passions, the contradictions, the moments when you're unapologetically yourself. That is why he might sometimes challenge you, tease you, or even push boundaries slightly, not out of malice, but out of a deep fascination with how you respond, how you carry yourself, and how much of yourself you are willing to show. His obsession is not with perfection, it is with reality, your reality, and how he fits into it. Now, here's a subtle yet profound point. The intensity of his obsession often grows in response to your confidence. The more you honor your own boundaries, the more you value your own time, energy, and emotions, the more he becomes intrigued. This is not a game. It is a natural response to the magnetism created by self-respect. Men are drawn to women who are whole, women who are not defined by the chase, women who are not constantly seeking validation. The more you cultivate your independence and emotional clarity, the more the quiet fascination, the obsession, becomes evident. He wants what he cannot control, and he is drawn to the power of a woman who does not offer herself indiscriminately. And let's address another layer, timing and patience. A man who pretends he doesn't care but is secretly obsessed may not reveal his feelings immediately. Sometimes obsession smolders for months before it fully surfaces. He might watch from a distance, analyze the situation, and test his own feelings before taking action. This is why it is so essential for you to remain patient, not for him, but for yourself. Don't misinterpret slow progression as rejection. Don't lower your standards because someone is hesitant. Observe the patterns, recognize the subtle signals, and allow the natural unfolding of attraction to happen without forcing it. When obsession is genuine, it finds its way to expression. It cannot be denied indefinitely. A key strategy for women who want to navigate this dynamic is awareness without attachment. You can recognize that someone is secretly fascinated with you without becoming consumed by it. You can hold the knowledge that he is captivated and still live your life fully, pursue your goals, nurture your friendships, and embrace your passions. Obsession is not a reason to pause your own momentum. It is a mirror that reflects how magnetic you already are. Understanding this allows you to move with grace, confidence, and emotional intelligence, rather than fear, insecurity, or neediness. Another sign to observe is subtle protection or consideration. Men who are secretly obsessed often demonstrate care in small, almost imperceptible ways. Perhaps he offers a solution before you even ask, or anticipates a challenge you might face. Maybe he sends a link to something he thinks you'd like, or remembers a conversation you had weeks ago. These gestures are rarely random. They are markers of someone whose mind is consistently focused on you. This is why paying attention to the little things matters more than waiting for dramatic declarations. They reveal intention far more accurately than words alone ever could. And here's an important mindset to cultivate. Fascination is not transactional. It cannot be earned through overexertion or manipulation. A man who is secretly obsessed with you is drawn to your essence, not the effort you put in to win him over. This is why confidence, authenticity, and self-awareness are so critical. If you overcompensate, try too hard, or suppress your true self to appeal to him, you are actually diminishing the effect of the very obsession that exists. True fascination responds to presence, not performance. It responds to a woman who embodies value, not to one who pleads for attention. It's also vital to understand the interplay of challenge and intrigue. Men who pretend not to care are often testing their own feelings and your reactions simultaneously. A little distance, a little playfulness, a little teasing, these are not signs of disinterest. They are indicators of someone navigating complex emotions. The moment you react with desperation or anxiety, the dynamic shifts. But when you respond with calm confidence, knowing your worth and observing without overanalyzing, you hold the power. Obsession thrives not on pressure, but on the pull created by your stability, self-respect, and magnetic presence. Remember, recognition is the first step toward empowerment. The second step is action, or in many cases, the deliberate choice to observe rather than intervene. You do not need to decode every text, anticipate every mood swing, or guess at every intention. Instead, you watch, you notice, and you allow the fascination to manifest naturally. You carry yourself with dignity, you engage with intention, and you never compromise your self-respect to accelerate someone else's emotional journey. In doing so, you create a dynamic where his hidden obsession eventually emerges in full clarity because it is no longer constrained by confusion or misinterpretation. Finally, one of the most transformative insights is understanding the power of subtlety in human attraction. Obsession, fascination, and deep emotional investment do not always shout, they whisper. They reveal themselves in consistency, attention to detail, memory, care, and subtle efforts. Recognizing these signs allows you to step away from fear, guesswork, and self-doubt. It allows you to embrace the reality that someone's apparent indifference does not diminish your value or desirability. It often magnifies it. When you hold this awareness, you move through relationships with clarity, grace, and confidence, and you allow connections to develop in a way that is magnetic, natural, and deeply resonant. And here's a final crucial perspective. Understanding obsession is not about controlling someone or manipulating outcomes. It is about understanding human psychology, tuning into subtle signals, and aligning your own energy with clarity and self-respect. The moment you see through the facade, the moment you recognize fascination for what it truly is, you are no longer at the mercy of ambiguity. You are empowered. You are magnetic. You are in command of your own emotional landscape, and the quiet obsession of someone else becomes a reflection of the power and presence you already possess. Now, let's explore another layer that is often overlooked: the emotional intensity hidden beneath the surface of indifference. A man who pretends he doesn't care but is secretly obsessed often experiences emotions more deeply than he allows himself to show. The facade of detachment is not a reflection of absence of feeling, it is a protective mechanism. He is navigating the vulnerability that comes with being captivated by someone so fully. Understanding this allows you to see his behavior not as a rejection of you, but as a reflection of the complexity of human emotion. Fascination, true fascination, is rarely simple or linear. It is multidimensional, layered, and often contradictory. One of the most compelling aspects of this dynamic is the way it reveals itself through unconscious behaviors. You might notice him mirroring your actions, copying your phrases, or aligning his body language with yours. These are subtle signs of psychological engagement, a reflection of how much your presence occupies his mind. He may not verbalize his interest, but his body and attention betray his fascination. Women who are attuned to these signals can recognize the intensity of his preoccupation without needing explicit confirmation. This awareness is empowering because it allows you to navigate the dynamic with insight and composure. Let's also address the NT of unpredictability. A man who is secretly obsessed may oscillate between closeness and distance, between warmth and aloofness. This is not a flaw. It is a reflection of the internal tension he experiences. On one hand, he is drawn to you irresistibly. On the other, he fears the vulnerability that comes with admitting his feelings. Understanding this pattern allows you to respond with patience and discernment rather than frustration or insecurity. You begin to see that his behavior is not about your value or desirability. It is about the way human beings wrestle with emotion, attraction, and fear. Another powerful insight is that obsession thrives on uniqueness. He is drawn not to the generic or ordinary, but to the elements of you that are distinctly yours, your passions, your quirks, your intellect, your humor, and the way you see the world. All of these facets create a gravitational pull that he cannot resist. This is why you might notice him paying attention to things others overlook, the way your eyes light up when you talk about your goals, the subtle expressions that reveal your mood, or the patterns in your behavior that indicate how you navigate life. To him, these are not trivial, they are captivating. And here's the key for you. When you recognize these behaviors, you are not obligated to respond in kind immediately, nor should you feel pressured to decode every signal. Instead, you hold awareness as your tool. You observe, you assess, and you allow the attraction to evolve organically. Patience becomes a form of power. When obsession is genuine, it cannot be rushed. Attempting to accelerate it often leads to distortion or misunderstanding. The more you allow space for his fascination to express itself naturally, the more authentic and magnetic the connection becomes. Let's examine the interplay of challenge and curiosity. A man who pretends not to care is often testing his own limits and yours simultaneously. He observes your reactions, gauges your boundaries, and measures how much of yourself you reveal. This is not manipulation. It is a reflection of the way attraction operates. Fascination is amplified by curiosity. When he sees that you are confident, self-assured, and unafraid to stand in your own power, his interest deepens. Your presence, your energy, and your ability to maintain composure in the face of ambiguity become irresistible. Now, consider the power of subtle communication. A man who is secretly obsessed often expresses himself in ways that are understated but meaningful. Perhaps he sends a message at a time when he knows it will resonate most, or offers help without fanfare, or leaves clues that he remembers your preferences and habits. These actions are not random. They are evidence of consistent attention and genuine interest. Women who notice and understand these signals gain clarity, not confusion. They realize that attraction is not always loud, but it is persistent, intentional, and deeply resonant. Another crucial element is emotional investment without expectation. A man who is secretly fascinated by you often invests emotionally in your well-being, sometimes without expecting immediate reciprocation. He notices your struggles, celebrates your successes, and finds ways to support you quietly. This is different from obligation or duty. It is a reflection of how captivated he is by your life, your energy, and your essence. Recognizing this allows you to see the depth of his interest without misinterpreting it as casual attention. Now, let's explore the significance of consistency over time. Obsession is revealed not in a single gesture, but in patterns that unfold gradually. A man who is captivated by you will demonstrate persistent, though often subtle behaviors. He remembers your preference, seeks out your company, and shows concern for your emotional state. These behaviors, repeated over time, form a tapestry that speaks louder than words ever could. Women who understand this are empowered to distinguish between fleeting flirtation and genuine fascination, giving them insight and confidence in navigating the relationship. It's also important to recognize the role of self-control in this dynamic. A man who is secretly obsessed may deliberately withhold overt expressions of affection or desire. This is not a lack of feeling. It is a reflection of his need to manage his own emotions, to approach the situation with caution, and to maintain a sense of composure. Understanding this allows you to interpret his actions with nuance, seeing restraint not as disinterest, but as a manifestation of deep internal focus and emotional intensity. Another layer to consider is the interplay of admiration and challenge. Men who are secretly fascinated often admire not just your beauty or charm, but your strength, intelligence, and independence. Yet their obsession also emerges through subtle tests, challenges that reveal how you navigate complexity, assert your boundaries, and engage with the world. These challenges are not adversarial. They are reflective of his curiosity and desire to understand you more fully. Recognizing this allows you to approach interactions with confidence and discernment, rather than defensiveness or insecurity. Now, consider the psychological principle of contrast. A man who pretends not to care often creates space between himself and you, which paradoxically heightens his own preoccupation. Distance, in this context, is not a withdrawal of affection, it is a magnifier of obsession. When he steps back, he observes, reflects, and analyzes. His mind is occupied with questions. What are you thinking? How do you feel? What drives your decisions? This internal focus often intensifies his fascination, even if externally he appears detached. Women who understand this dynamic can approach distance with patience and clarity, recognizing it as a signal of deep, though hidden, emotional engagement. Another powerful insight is that fascination is fueled by authenticity. A man who is secretly obsessed is captivated by the real you, not by a curated or performative version. Your authenticity, the way you embrace your individuality, your passions, your quirks, creates a magnetic pull that he cannot resist. This is why it is critical to maintain alignment with your true self. When you are authentic, you amplify the intensity of his fascination. When you conform, mask, or diminish yourself, you reduce it. Your power lies in your presence, your confidence, and your commitment to being unapologetically yourself. Let's also discuss the emotional patience required in navigating this dynamic. A man who is secretly obsessed will reveal his feelings gradually over time as he becomes more comfortable with vulnerability. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active presence. It is the conscious choice to observe, engage, and maintain your own equilibrium while allowing his fascination to surface naturally. Women who cultivate this patience move through the process with grace, avoiding unnecessary anxiety or overcompensation, and fostering a space where genuine attraction can flourish. Finally, it's essential to recognize that true obsession is not about control or coercion. It is about genuine captivation. A man who is secretly fascinated by you is drawn to your essence, your energy, and your presence. Understanding this allows you to navigate interactions with insight and discernment, responding with confidence, curiosity, and composure. You do not need to manipulate, chase, or overanalyze. Instead, you observe, appreciate, and maintain alignment with your own value. In doing so, you create a dynamic where fascination can thrive naturally, revealing itself in ways that are consistent, intentional, and deeply resonant.